Hello friends, welcome to our channel Knowledge Amplifier. So today in this particular video, we are going to explore one interesting application of generative AI and large language models in our big data or data engineering workloads. And that is enriching our data catalogs with generative AI metadata. That can be Glue Data Catalog or Databricks Unity Catalog or Hive Metastore Catalog, anything like this, right? So what problem basically in this block they have tried to solve is, suppose you are having a data catalog where within some specific schema we are having lot of tables. Now generally when we create the tables using Spark or Python or Pandas, then most of the time we just define the column names and its data type, but we don't provide some comments like what this particular column is signifying, right? So as a result, overall readability get decreased with time for all of these catalogs. So what in this block they have done, they have taken help of generative AI, and that is obviously using AWS Bedrock. They are passing the table metadata column information and they have given the prompt that derive a suitable comment for this particular column. And whatever response the generative AI will return, first it will validate whether it is in proper structure or not. And if it is following the proper structure, then using that particular returned response using Python code, we can update our data catalog tables or columns, right, with the proper comments. So that way overall data catalog quality will increase with respect to data governance point of view or data understanding point of view, right? But as always, along with some advantage, disadvantage also comes. Like in this case, the advantage is this approach is pretty much simple and straightforward. But on the other hand, the disadvantage is it is basically completely relying on in-context learning. That is basically these LLMs will return the response based on your previously trained data. So it might not be always 100% accurate. But still this approach may work most of the time in your data lakehouse platform. So I just thought to cover this specific concept, application of generative AI in big data world. And also while exploring the code base, we will encounter some new concepts what you can reuse in solving some other business problems as well, right? So without any further delay, let us directly jump into our AWS Bedrock console. So first of all, you should have some model access. Okay, so if you don't have model access, I will request you to first raise the model access, because here in this specific demo, I am going to use Claude model, because the Claude models provided by Anthropic often works in a very good manner if your use case is related to programming world. That is basically my personal observation. I have used Claude chatbot as well as ChatGPT chatbot and Perplexity chatbot as well. But when we are asking some programming related question, then often I have seen that Claude model's response is superior than other models. And this is again totally my personal observation. You can validate from your end, and whatever model suits you the best, that specific model you can utilize in solving this particular business problem. Okay, so in this case, I am going to use Claude 3.7 Sonnet model, okay, from Anthropic. And as you can see here, we are having access granted for this particular model. So without any further delay, we will jump into our programming section. So here if you see, I have already written some code in our Databricks notebook. And for this demo, whatever tables we'll be creating, that will be within workspace catalog within default schema. So if I refresh this, here you can see within workspace within default schema, currently no data is there. So as a first step, what I am going to do, I am going to create some tables with dummy data set in this specific location. Okay, so like for example, some tables will have product related information with the name delta products, some will have employees related information with name delta employees, some will have sales data related information with the name delta sales, some table will have customer related information with the name delta customer, and then we are having transaction related data as well, right? So here what I will do, I will quickly create these tables using this query, and here you can see our Spark jobs are getting executed and it is done. So if I refresh our catalog within workspace catalog within default schema, here we are having these all tables got created. If you click on 3 dot and open in Catalog Explorer, here you will be able to see that there is no comments associated with these tables. So here you can see delta customer table and comments are null. Okay, Databricks is asking you to create the comment because that is one of the best practice, and even it is throwing some AI suggestion also. There is delta customer table contains information about our customer, including their unique identifier, that is kind of primary key, then name, email address, country of origin, etc, etc. Okay, but we are not going to utilize this Databricks AI suggestion, but rather we will be using Anthropic Claude to create the column description or comments for the tables. Okay, so as a first step, what we'll do, we'll import JSON, Boto3 and all other required things. Then as a next step, obviously we need to create the Bedrock client using Boto3. I am using access key, secret key based authentication here, and also we need to mention the region name. So here you can see currently we are working with North Virginia region, which is US East 1. That's why here we have given US East 1, and then we need to mention what model we want to use. So basically we are going to use Anthropic Claude 3.7 Sonnet model, and then here I have basically defined that on what table I want to apply this process and enrich the comments for different columns. Okay, so catalog is workspace. Within that default schema is there. Within that we are having a table called delta sales. So as of now, if you see our delta sales table, so here it is having sales ID, product ID, quantity and sales date, but comments are null. Okay, right? So if you want to inspect using Spark, you can always execute describe table and then the table details. So I think I have not executed this cell, that's why it thrown error. Now I'll execute it again, and here you can see comments are null, right? Perfectly fine. And now what I need to do, I need to send this information to our Claude model via a prompt, right? Now this table data we cannot directly share, so it is always better that if we can convert this to a dictionary kind of thing, which we can easily pass via our prompt to the LLM models. Okay, so that is what we are doing as part of next step. First we are executing that same query, and then we are converting to pandas, and then we are converting to dictionary. Okay, so now if I execute these two cells, here you will be able to see we are having beautiful dictionary format instead of table, and this one we can easily pass via our prompt to LLM models, right? Now here comes the important part. Here basically we are defining the prompt. We should have very careful attention. All the minute details we have to mention here properly to get best possible output from our large language model. So here I have mentioned you are given metadata for Databricks table called catalog.schema.table name. So these are placeholders. It will be getting replaced by the variable value whatever we have defined earlier, right? And then your task is to generate meaningful comments for the table and its columns. So what I am saying, that not only you need to return the comments for individual columns, but you return the comment for this table as well. So here you can see that AI suggested description, it is basically throwing for this table, right? So that one also we want to get using our LLM model. So that's why we are mentioning here not only meaningful comments for columns but for the tables as well. And then we have to mention the instruction. Number one, use the metadata to understand the structure. So here metadata is basically this information, whatever existing information is available in our table. Then create a helpful and concise table description. So table description should not be very large. Okay, add meaningful comments to each column based on their name and data type. So here you can see in this metadata we are having name as well as data type also. So from this the LLM should get some idea, and based on that they should send the meaningful comment or column description. And then if a column is a primary key or foreign key, end with ID or something, then mention that in the comment. And this way you can tune the prompt in your specific business use case also. You can mention if instead of ID, if the primary key is starting with some specific prefix or suffix, that also you can mention here. Okay, and then we are also mentioning return the output strictly in following JSON format. So here in this case, if we don't share the schema of the output what we are expecting, then the LLM model can reply in any format, and that time extracting the relevant information or the comments from that output will be very difficult for us. So that's why what we are doing in the prompt itself, we are defining clearly that in what format we are expecting the output. Okay, so first it should be having the table description and your description here, and then column with comments. So column name description should be returned in this manner only. That is, there are two keys, one is column name, and for that the value will be for what column it is returning the comment, and then in the comment key the actual comment will be stored whatever LLM is inferring. Like that way it should be returning an array. Okay, and also I am mentioning if you can't infer a description, use not available. That way we can avoid little bit of hallucination. That's it. Okay, and now we need to pass our existing metadata, whatever we have derived as dictionary here. So that one we are mentioning here. here is the table metadata in these XML tags. So as I told you earlier that when you are passing some prompt, then always it is better to separate important informations within XML tags. So that way LLM model will give more focus on that specific tag based information, right? So that one we are mentioning here. Existing metadata is basically this one, whatever we are having in this variable, right? And then we are just simply calling invoke model with the model ID, content type application or JSON, and then this is basically the default structure how our Cloud API is expecting. Just user message template table. So this is our prompt, what we have defined in this variable, that one we are passing here, right? We are extracting the JSON, then we are extracting text part out of it, and we are loading in JSON file format, and then we are printing the JSON whatever we are getting. So let me run this one, and here we are getting in this way. So due to print statement it is coming like this. Maybe I'll just only print the variable, and here you can see that it is basically returning the JSON format in which we are expecting. First, table description. Here it has mentioned that this table contains sales data including sale identifiers, product information, quantities, and sale date, etc, etc. That's what this delta sales table contains. From the basic intuition we are understanding, right, by simply inspecting the table. So our LLM model is returning a very good result. And then columns with comments within an array, it is basically having individual JSON or dictionary where there are two keys, column name and comment. Column name is basically mentioning that specific column for which it is returning comment, and like here you can see sale ID, and for that the comment is unique identifier for each sale record. And because it is ending with underscore ID, that's why it is mentioning clearly it is a primary key, because in the prompt here we have mentioned that if anything is ends with ID, then it can be a primary key or foreign key. So based on that it is returning the response beautifully, right? Now obviously once we have this kind of JSON data, we can easily extract any value using dictionary key value pair technique. Like for example, Enrich metadata JSON, and then if you pass table description, you will be able to see beautiful table description from it. And once you get this, the next step is just simply executing an alter table command to update our existing Databricks Data Catalog, right? So before that, I want to show you another important stuff, that is schema validation. Okay, so I hope you are getting this, that in this case it is returning the output as per our expectation, that is totally fine. But when you are working with LLM and you are expecting that it will return some JSON data using which some key value pair you will be extracting the information, then always it is better that first you do schema validation. So in this case what we have to do, we have to mention like, see, this is the way how we are expecting the output, and then you can pass the JSON data whatever you want to validate, that whether that JSON data is following the expected schema whatever we have defined here or not. So here I have just defined the table description should be string type, and columns with comments, that is basically this one, this should be a array data type data, right? So that's why we are mentioning array, and then we are just executing validate command with the JSON whatever LLM model has given as output, and then the expected schema. So if I run this cell, here you will see no module name JSON schema. So I think I have to import this one, so I'll do that quickly. And then it is throwing that we might need to restart the kernel. So I'll execute this command also, and maybe I will go to this specific cell or cell below it, and here I can click on run all above. Okay, so that way this cell and all its previous cell will be executed, because we have restarted the notebook. So that's why we need to execute all the commands again. So let's wait for a few minutes. And here all got executed, and you can see validate has returned nothing. That means schema is matching. But suppose in your use case, sometime if schema does not match, for example, we are expecting column with comments also as string, but here in this case from LLM model we got this as a array, right? Now if you run this code here, this job will fail. If you see, yeah, validation error. And if we expand this one, here you will see that column with comments, the type is expected as string, but in our data it is not having string data type, right? So that is how this validate command often useful if you are working with LLM and expecting a specific structured JSON output. Okay, so anyway, in our case our Anthropic Claude model is working pretty well, And as a next step, what we need to do, we need to update the table comment. That is basically we are doing using this Spark SQL command, alter table, table name, set table properties, and in comment here from Enrich metadata JSON, that is basically from this one we are just extracting table description, and that one we are putting here. Okay, as simple as that. And now as a next step, we need to go to individual columns, and then we need to execute alter table, table name, change column comment to the comment whatever our GenAI has returned. And finally we are printing metadata for table is updated successfully. So let's execute this cell, and here you can see it got updated. Now if you go to delta cells table, you can see columns are not there and it got auto refreshed, and here you can see in the description it is beautifully showing this table contains sales data including details about each sale transaction such as sale ID, product ID, quantity sold, sale date. And for each column also here it has beautifully given comment like sale ID is unique identifier, product ID is identifier for the product sold. And now another interesting point, if you see the product ID comment, it is beautifully defining it is a foreign key, because intuitively we are getting it that product ID should be primary key for our products table, and in this table if it is available, that means for join purpose the developers has created such schema where product ID is nothing but foreign key for this table, and our LLM model has also detected that pattern beautifully, right? Quantity, number of units of the product sold in the transaction, and sale date, date when sale transaction occurred. So beautifully our metadata or column description enrichment happened using generative AI. Now it's time to check another table. So here instead of delta sales, maybe I will use delta customers. Okay, and if you see delta customers table, so here also you can see delta customers is not having any table description, nor its column has any comments. So I'll execute all of them, all these cells, and here you can see all are getting executed, and it is throwing metadata for table delta customer is updated successfully. If we go to delta customer and maybe refresh once, here you can see in the description that this table store customer information including unique identifier, name, email address, and countries. So everything related to customer, like customer ID, it is automatically detecting that it should be primary key in our this table, then name, full name of the customer, then email address of the customer, and then country where the customer is located. So I hope you are getting the power of Anthropic Claude model, and believe me, many companies are using generative AI to solve this specific problem, that enriching the data catalog, enriching the column description, so that way overall data governance itself will improve and data readability will also improve. Right? So obviously this will not be 100% correct because we are doing in context learning. Maybe you can improvise this using some RAG or this kind of advanced techniques, but this is one of the primary technique which also sometimes work pretty well for most of the lake houses. Right? This is all for this video. The complete code I'll be providing in the description box. Try to play with it so that you will understand in more better manner. Right? If you find this video helpful, then please like, share, and comment. Subscribe our channel if you have not subscribed till now, and don't forget to press the bell icon to get the notification of our latest videos. Thank you for watching.